So the first C in the 7C framework is to be consistent, which means you show up ready to lead each day, right? If you look at like Martin Pettigrew and Monarch Roofing, which is one of the highest performing sales teams out there, they have the thing called the 4:30 a.m. club. They know that as leaders in the company, they have to be there at 6 a.m. They know that that's when they got to be in the building because they got production starting at 6:30. They got salespeople showing up at like 7:30. So as a leader, they have to be in, like the owner, he's going to be at the office at 6. He's got to beat everybody to work. Well, in order to do that and still go to the gym, he's got to be at the gym at 4:30 in the morning. They have this 4:30 a.m. club that people come to the gym and then they go straight to work. And you don't have to go. You don't have to be there. He just is there. But a lot of people do go. And the first step in being a we leader, a person who can lead others, you have to be able to lead yourself. And that's their way of measuring people's ability to lead themselves. But when you show up consistent to work every day and you create the same rules for everyone, right? When you treat salespeople the same and you're consistent in your expectations, right? Then what happens is you're creating an equal playing field, right? You don't show favoritism to people, but you have to try and create an equal playing field for everybody to get opportunity. That's being consistent as a sales leader. Then we have character development. And character development is to be the teacher, the coach, the leader, to be aware of what's going on in the sales guy's start at the beginning of the day, to teach them that they either have a plan or they have a hope plan. They either have a plan to make money today or they're hoping to make money today. And then choosing to teach, develop, and grow those people through some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today, but developing their character as a salesperson. You can't just expect that these salespeople are born just hatched. You know what I mean? As great salespeople, we have to develop them. We have to train them. Then closing deals. As a sales manager, you have to help close deals. The weird thing about salespeople is they wake up and if they don't see a deal on the board by like 11 o'clock or noon, there's a question in their head whether people are still buying roofs today. If it goes on for a day or two, it starts to become really fatiguing, especially in something like a business to consumer kind of business, because then they start to think there's some kind of weird monkey in the market. It's too hot. It's too cold. It's the end of the season. School's out. It's an election season. It's raining out. It's too hot out. It's summertime. People are off enjoying themselves. It's too cold, right? And they get these weird little self-fulfilling prophecies that make them feel comfortable with the fact that they're not getting the results. So your job as a sales leader is to help close deals, right? To be the person that can tip deals. So if you're not in a business to consumer, like if you're a commercial roofer, maybe you don't sell a deal every day, well, then you have to be shown as the person who can tip a deal. You can get on the phone or get in front of a customer somehow, and you can tip a deal and make those closing opportunities happen. You do this by closing a deal by 11. You tell 30-second stories about how we solve problems. You share testimonials, you share Google reviews, right? You tell 30-second stories about how our production teams solve problems. But you want to teach the tools of success daily. You want to teach them how to overcome objections. You want to make sure that you hold them accountable to the CSM audit view so that you're empowered to close deals. So if you're looking at your CSM audit view in your HubSpot dashboard and how much money can we make? When can we make it? Why don't we have it yet? What are we going to do about it? And when are we going to do it? That's your CSM audit view. If you have that view in your system, and if it's cleanly filled out properly and it's up to date, then what you're able to do is be empowered to get in there and close the deal by 11. So one of the very important C's. The other one is call recording, right? Listening to, like, you want to record every call. You want to review the game footage. You want to review the framework and the adoption of that framework. You want to reward on merit for when they do things right. And you want to train and coach out bad behavior. So listening to call recordings and reviewing the game footage of the sales activities is going to allow you to coach, because it's not enough to tell them what to do. You have to let them do it with grace for failure, and you have to coach them to be better. And that comes from saying, hey, when you're out there in the real world and you're trying this, or when you're on the phone, or when you're sending an email, or when you're, if you do ever do any like Zoom closing, you want to be able to review that. Then there's communications, right? You want to maintain good communication with your team. So daily huddles, quick little huddles, right? Even a 15-minute huddle every day. right? To try and use that time to review testimonials and review why are they selling? What are they selling for? Reminding them of their personal, professional, financial goals. Just keeping a culture with your sales team, right? Remotivating them, talking about what we do for our customers. Then you're going to want to do bucket reviews and help them work towards goals. Understanding getting better at adoption, understanding getting better at using the tools, understanding new places to seek out information, challenging them to solve their problems and letting them run into trouble and then coaching them through it. But you want to review things like best call, worst call, right? So you'll say, okay, well, what was your best call this week? What was your worst call this week? And finding time to review that, right? Reviewing the framework adoption. We want to have celebrations after every deal, celebrations for the end of the month, who was a top performer. In my roofing business, we used to have these two awards called the Brass Balls Award and the Money Gun Award. And the Brass Balls Award was literally two big balls, right? These metal bearings that had a little, it was actually for fishing. It was a fishing weight, but for quite a large fishing thing. But they were like this big. And we painted them brass and they were tied to hook together with a cable. And every month, there was a little glass case that they went in with a little red velvet blanket, right? And whoever had the highest per square average for the month won the Brass Balls Award. And this is from a movie called Glengarry Glen Ross, right? And so if you watch that movie, it's a scene with Alec Baldwin, right? That's where that comes from, right? And then we had the Money Gun Award, which is one of those little money guns you can buy that you can put money in and then you shoot the money out of it. We had some fake money that we put in there. But then whoever had the most sales for the month got the Money Gun Award. And they had that at their desk. And it was a way to try and have celebration and put the performers on a pedestal. This is the communication. Then you want to cut the bottom 10%. As your sales team grows, right, you start to get 3, 4, 7, 8, 12, 15, 25 salespeople, depending on the size of your company, you want to be cutting the bottom 10%. Remove the bad performers that are blowing the leads, right? If you're at the point where there's some salesperson taking good leads and blowing them, you want to take that away from that and give that back to your sales team by removing the bottom 10%. You usually do this around quarterly, right? Sales productivity goes up and you have to work with HR to make sure that you're doing this properly and that you're giving people every opportunity to succeed. Again, you have to do the other 5 C's that we've talked about properly before you get it the right to cut the bottom 10%. People have to be given the opportunity to succeed, but you want to have constant growth. You want to constantly be up leveling the average skill set of the team by rewarding the great performers and then saying, hey, you know what, maybe this career isn't for you. Because in many cases, these salespeople aren't that happy with their situation either. And it's kind of a mercy kill in some cases. So cut the bottom 10%, make sure that your best people are getting the best opportunities to succeed by not forcing them to be in a room with the mediocre who are not taking care of the business's leads and opportunities that are being generated by your marketing department. And the last thing is competition, right? Competition causes competitors to compete, right? I usually like to see something roll out on a 6-week cycle. If you've got a clear pathway to get success, a 6-week cycle is a really nice framework to run a competition around. Because when you're doing a lot of volume of transactions, the hard thing about the volume of transactions is that you run out of enough, like you get to 4 or 5 roofs sold in a month, maybe you've made too much, right? So you want to create competition that also makes it fun. And you can do co-opetition too, where you can have team competitions. That's the great thing about pod sales, is you don't have to just reward some, high achiever that's going to look down on others, but you can reward a pod, or you can even reward your entire team. But you want to create some sense of competition and this ability to just have a reason to celebrate, right? And then you can give prizes away, and it creates a really fun atmosphere in sales, because a lot of the people who are attracted to sales are competitive people. They like to compete. They like to have things that they can win. They like to have recognition, right? If you create accountability, recognition, and fun in a sales department, it grows. And so how can you create that environment? Well, you can use competitions. A 6-week cycle is good because it falls off the normal monthly end, right? Because then you end a month and now sales teams is all the same, right? They finish the month, they hit the goal, They roll over, they light a smoke, they go to bed. It takes a week to get going. If you're good, you can get them going in 3 days. But usually it's like a week hangover, right? Well, if you have a 6-week competition, right? I didn't have a 6-week competition going, and I watched it happen in my own business. And I'm like, I'm reading this and I'm going, I gotta create a competition because I watched it happen this month. And so you guys don't want to do that in your businesses. Learn from my mistakes. Some of these webinars are as much for me as they are for everybody else because I have to remind myself to do this one thing. So we've talked about, just a quick review, we've talked about the 7 C's. So I'm going to rescan over these again. It's consistency, character development, close deals, call recordings, communication, cut the bottom 10%, and competition, right? These are the things that are going to make them successful. And to do that, to lead around this, we use the REX framework to determine if we have an effort problem, a knowledge problem, or a skill problem. And put another way, right? We want to make sure they know what you want done, when you want it done, how you want it done, and then motivate them to do it and remove the blockers, right? And so removing the REX helps remove the blockers because we're trying to say, is it an effort problem? Like, am I not motivating them enough? Is it a knowledge problem? Have I not taught them how to do it? Is it a skills problem? Are we not learning how to apply it, right? And so when you do that, what that allows you to do is to ultimately be a leader first, right? And that you are trying to give people the opportunity to achieve their personal, professional, and financial goals, because that's why you get into sales. You get into sales so you can control your income, right? You don't get the guarantee, you get the opportunity. It's different.